New York Comic Con, make some noise for Mr. Stephen S. Denner! Why do I have a feeling, Stephen, that for all future projects you're going to have it required that you have some sort of commander suit written into your contract?
I'm never taking this off. I'm gonna just lounge around the house in this bad boy.
Well, you look darn fine in that thing. It's very smooth.
Yeah! Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, okay, diving right in. First off, I gotta say, you're like living every nerd's dream lately. You know, with Spartacus, you get to play with all the Centurion action figures, and then with like Daredevil, you get to play with all the superhero action figures, and now you're playing with a giant mech frickin' toys, and now this got to be feeling pretty good, right?
It's amazing. I grew up watching Ultraman and Space Giants and Godzilla movies, to get a chance to play in this world, and to get a chance to play in the world that Guillermo del Toro so beautifully and expertly executed the first time around has just been an honor and a thrill.
Well, of course, you know, all of you guys probably saw that really sweet commercial at San Diego Comic-Con that told us a little bit about the Jaegers, and that was pretty cool, but I kind of need a little bit more. So what else can you tell us about developing this world, stepping into this world, and what else we can expect from this? And I should warn you, I am listening closely for hints, as is everybody out there and on the internet right now.
We might have a few hints. Well, the action takes place 10 years after the first movie, which really gave us a chance to explore where humanity is at this point in time. And to show that there's a new generation of Jaeger pilots that have known nothing but a world of chaos. And one of the important things we wanted to show in this movie is that it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter who your parents are, it doesn't matter the color of your skin, your religion, your sexual orientation, you can make a difference. That you can actually be a hero. That it's the human inside the Jaeger that is super. It's you times 1,000.
I mean, and the Jaegers look cooler. I mean, there's still these super heavy metal machines, these warriors. But I don't know. Anything you can tell us about upgrades or breakdowns?
Oh, they are badass. They are badass in this movie. Since it's been 10 years, they've had a chance to redesign the Jaegers from the ground up, since they were all destroyed in the first movie. So that gave us the opportunity to show that the PPDC has come together as an international fighting force. It's no longer the Russian Jaeger or the Australian Jaeger. It's all of humanity working together. And leading the charge is the flagship Jaeger Gypsy Avenger, which is the successor to Gypsy Danger. And with Gypsy Avenger, there's a lot of upgrades, but the really cool one is a weapon called the Gravity Sling, which allows Gypsy to reach out, grab buildings, cars, and hurl them at the kaiju. I think you're gonna like that one. And next up, we've got one called Bracer Phoenix, the real brute force. And Bracer's special ability, one among many that you'll see, is it's a 3-pilot rig, and the third pilot can drop into the chest and operate a pair of massive guns called the Vortex Cannon. You might get a peek of that in the trailer if you watch very closely. And next up we have Saber Athena. Saber Athena in this movie is the most advanced Jaeger in the fleet. A little experimental, incredibly swift, and she has a pair of plasma swords that she uses. And after that, we've got one called Titan Redeemer. Titan Redeemer, which you'll also get a little peek at, uses something we like to call the ball of death attached to the end of his arm. That is pretty damn cool. And rounding them out is one called Guardian Bravo, another brute force Jaeger that has a really cool weapon that I can't wait for you guys to get a peek at. It's called a graphene arc whip. And he really smacks the hell out of some Jaegers in there.
Yeah.
And as a little twist, there's a little guy that you'll get a peek at, a little Jaeger called Scrapper that's been slapped together. In the future, 10 years later, there are a lot of people who are stealing and pilfering PPDC technology to slap together their own Jaegers. And we'll get a little peek at that as well.
Well, as you mentioned, you know, we love the Jaegers, but it's important about the people that are inside them. So, what do you say? Should we bring out some of those names? All right, guys, get ready. Put your hands together, make a lot of noise. Of course, you know him as a PPDC scientist and Pacific Rim fan favorite, Herman Gottlieb, played by Mr. Burn. Keep making noise. She is a Jaeger pilot cadet. We're hopeful. She plays Amora Amani. Make some noise for Miss Cailee Spaeny! Plays Mark 6 Ranger Nathan Lambert. Make some noise for Mr. Scott Eastwood! And I think you know this next guy. If you were a fan of the legendary war hero Stacker Pentecost, I think you're gonna like his son Jake Pentecost. He is the star and producer of Pacific Rim Uprising. Make some noise for Mr. John Boyega!
That is a good Tupac track, right? Yeah.
All right, so John, you're kind of familiar with these big screen thrill rides, I would say. So, in terms of the spectacle, the action, and Pacific Rim Uprising, as both the star and as a producer, what can you tell us?
I can tell you that the vision of this movie was not to kind of rewrite what Guillermo del Toro did, but to build upon and to expand this universe. We have an opportunity of it being based 10 years in the future to expand on where the humans are at right now. And I think going in, I had the same creative passion as Steve, and we met in LA, and we went through the robots, the specific Jaeger abilities, and basically what I wanted to see after Pacific Rim, we've been able to implement into this movie. And I think you're going to see that in a sneaky little trailer that we're going to show you in a bit.
And you're actually a big Pacific Rim nerd too, aren't you?
I love the first movie, and one of the biggest reasons because of Idris Elba. I could not imagine that I was going to play his son, so it's cool to get into another franchise in this way. It's really dope.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we're all also fans of Idris Elba. Like, pretty awesome.
We are canceling the apocalypse!
Well, we canceled the apocalypse and then we uncanceled it so we could have another movie. So that makes sense. We like that. But when you were cast for that role, it was really perfect. It made so much sense. But those are big shoes to fill. Like, talk about stepping into that role a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it was definitely something that I hadn't imagined. I met with the great Cailee Spaeny and Mary Perrin at Legendary, and I thought it was for a general meeting, and they were like, "Oh, we just want to show you a few things." And I saw myself in a Jaeger suit, and I was like, "Oh crap! So this is what you brought me in for." And filling in those shoes is definitely a responsibility. But we all work as a unit, and Jake Pentecost, he doesn't exist with the other characters. This is also a great ensemble piece, and it's something now that we're very excited to show you. We feel ready, it's fun, it's action. I believe it's everything you want Pacific Rim to be moving forward. So we've got...
I mean, aside from the fact that, he is the son of a warrior, I mean, what kind of character is he? What kind of personality does he have? Is he trying to live up to Stacker's status or no?
The greatest heroes don't accept their kind of legendary status. It takes a tussle and a turn with Jake for him to accept his position. And we find him at the beginning of the movie in a circumstance quite different from his dad. He's a stealer, a hustler. He lives in half a mansion. He's really a guy that doesn't want to live up to the Pentecost name, and is brought back in a very, very unique way through the connection to Cailee's character, Amara, and he's kind of drawn into this adventure and decides that, you know what, I've got to step up and be a leader for them, and be a leader for the next generation. The Pentecost name still means something, and he has to realize that in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, meanwhile, we have the character of Nathan Scott. I mean, how does he compare to Jake? What kind of character is he?
Well, he's look, he's the tip of the spear. He's a pilot. He's one of the best. But he is nothing really without his best friends. Jake. So they've got some issues in this one to work out from the past, which I really liked, and I thought that was an interesting piece to explore as an actor. Being a great friend with someone, but having to deal with coming back around, maybe it was some lost time, which I thought was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, meanwhile, Scott, like your previous work, there's been a lot of destruction in some of your other films. A lot of things that go bluey, kablooey. So, how does the action in Pacific Rim Uprising kind of match up to the spectacle, the thrill rides that you've experienced in other films?
Well, we're 10 years in the future. This has got some cool stuff. I don't know if I'd match it up to other films. I would say that this film stands alone. And what was most interesting about this film was DeKnight's vision for it, and Guillermo, and it was digging deeper into the story. And the great thing about this film is it really has a great story, first and foremost. And the action is there, but the story is really great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cailee, your character Amara is also new to this world, and she seems to be like a bit of a tech-savvy character. What can you tease out about her, and maybe a little bit about her relationship to Jake?
Yeah, so obviously the attack has affected all the characters 10 years after. Her family were all killed from the first attack, so she's taken it upon herself to dive into the Jaeger tech and to make sure that when the kaiju do come back, as she believes they will, that she'll be ready to fight and make sure that she protects herself and she's very independent, and I think has a lot of the same qualities, even though Jake and hers past are completely different. They see things in a lot of the similar ways. Yeah, she's super badass. I'm not, but she is.
Well, this is your first big studio action flick.
It's my first film.
It's first film.
Yeah.
So.
First film, first Comic-Con. Never been to New York. It's pretty crazy. Really crazy.
And she's amazing in it.
Thank you.
Incredible.
I think that's literally the definition of go big or go home. So you've nailed it.
All the way.
Yeah. So I mean, talk a little bit about that experience, about stepping into this world for your first movie and going this big.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only my first film, but we're also diving into tons of stunts and action. So there's a lot of skills that I had to catch on to. A lot of research went into this on because I really wanted to know all the things that went behind, all the Jaeger stuff, and it's a whole world that's been created. I got really lucky with that because of obviously Guillermo's work before and how in depth Steven went into all that, and he really had everything set up and planned out on her past and her history. So it was really easy for me to jump into it because I came in with so many people who were prepared and excited about it. So, I just got right into it, and I'm really thankful for that, for people who had it all set up for me.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Burn, you're sort of the veteran of the group that's on stage right here.
Do you mean old?
I was thinking more. You've got some experience under your belt dealing with kaiju. So, what can we expect from Pacific Rim Uprising with Dr. Herman Gottlieb? What's going on with him?
Well, let's just say he hasn't changed his socks since the last film. Still problems with personal hygiene, but he is quite honestly the most important scientist, or certainly at the highest level now in the PPDC. He's got a great budget for the first time in a long time. Yeah. So he can do lots and lots of things in dark corners and get away with it. But quite honestly, and I think Stephen really sort of made this clear to me, where we find Herman Gottlieb is as a man very much affected by what happened in the first movie in terms of his drift and his communication that he had with the kaiju. And so that was a real good starting point for me. So you got a big budget, you've got an emotional backstory of some sort, and Stephen has just taken the gauntlet that Maestro Del Toro threw down. He put on that gauntlet and he's found it rather sexy. And he's added just an amazing script, a stellar cast, a great supportive studio, and I'm just so excited for you guys to see it. Yeah.
I can't have you up here without asking you about your interactions with Herman and New, played by Charlie Day.
Do we have to?
Oh, we kind of have to. I mean,
that jerk, yeah. I mean, I'm
the lovable odd couple of the Pacific Rim world. So, I'm curious, like, what was it like to reprise those roles and step back into that odd couple scenario with him?
Honestly, it was effortless. Charlie is the consummate professional, and is tons of fun. You're just smiling all the time, either laughing at Charlie or with him. But we had good fun. We were pretty much in the first sort of scenes that we did, I think with Stephen, it was back in the lab. I don't think that's giving too much away, and we had fun. There are great differences in their relationship from the last film, but it was just like being back in the playground, really, and we had a lot of fun.
Well, this all sounds great, but I gotta wait till March to see this thing. So that's kind of a long wait. So I don't know. Do we maybe have something? Roll this over? Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, let's show them.
Yeah, you guys go with that? So, all right. Whether you're a boy, whether you're a girl, whether you're an interdimensional kaiju, fans around the world, you are about to see the world premiere of the trailer for Pacific Rim. I'm sure you guys have some questions. So, calmly, come on.
Look at her! Look at you down up there!
Let's be good nerds, guys. Let's be good nerds. Like, don't run anyone over. Let's go ahead and throw it to some audience questions. Obviously, you guys know the drill. Keep it to one question per person. Make it an actual question about Pacific Rim. I love you, New York. Don't get too weird on me. Okay? All right. So let's start over here. Hey there. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great.
Excellent. Hi, my name's Nikki. This question is for Burn. The original Pacific Rim meant a lot to me. It was an amazing movie, and I especially really loved Cailee. But when I heard that it was 10 years later, my friend and I looked at each other and we went, that's a long time. But after seeing the trailer, we're really stoked about it. So what was it like for you thinking, oh God, this is 10 years later? What sort of changes did you expect, and what sort of, I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want you to have to worry about spoilers, but what was your kind of favorite part of that whole 10 years later kind of thing?
So there's a lot of spoilers. Yeah, we'll watch for spoiler territory there, but as much as you can answer.
Hey Nikki, thanks for the question. So really it was, I'm bearing in mind that I've already said he hasn't changed his underwear in 10 years. But he's got access to a lot more funding. And I think it's okay to say that Newt and Herman are, it's not that they don't work together anymore, it's just that Newt is working in the private sector now, and I'm not. And I felt like he has got all these resources, and Stephen had this great vision for what happens. And I was just, to be honest, really excited to be back in that sandbox. So I think when Stephen tonight offers you the chance to come back and you know, reprieve Herman Gottlieb, you don't say no. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Right on. Thank you so much. Hey there. How are you?
Hi, my name is Shemaya. My question is, I know that this movie takes place 10 years later, but it is only 3 years after the movie, or sorry, 4 years after the original movie came out. So how did you go about making it original, making sure that you're pleasing the original fans, but also bringing in a new set of like kids watching and everything like that? Did you talk to Idris and Charlie, or did you kind of just take it?
You know, Guillermo set the table, and it was a fantastic visual feast. And we wanted to make sure we honored what he had created and also expanded the universe. And this is hopefully the first step in a bigger Pacific Rim franchise that we really wanted to explore the universe and look at the first movie and expound on it. There are references to the first movie and what happened in the first movie. And as our people try to understand why the kaiju attacked, why the aliens sent the kaiju. So we really wanted to honor the first movie while pushing things forward. And going 10 years in the future gave us that kind of room to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Howdy.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Rob. Thanks for being here. New York loves you guys. Big Pacific Rim fan. I don't. I have a question for everybody. In one word, what can you describe your Pacific Rim experience?
International.
unity.
I mean, life-changing, it's 2 words, but life-changing.
There's a hyphen in there, kind of connects, you know.
So
Life-changing.
I've got a hyphen too. K-Science.
Mind-blowing.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi. So you guys have talked about how there's a possibility of a bigger franchise, but obviously there's only really been one movie, and there's a huge, like, international fan base for this film. Did you guys, the new cast members, did you feel any intimidation coming into your roles, especially you, Cailee, like literally your first film, let alone into this huge world? Was it intimidating at all?
Super intimidating. Yeah, it was terrifying. Especially because, you know, you guys have been so supportive of the first film, you know, and I I had heard of the film, but I didn't watch it until I got the audition. So I really had to put on my my research hat and really dive in and make sure that I respected everything and going into it, knowing what I was dealing with and not just like run around crazy and doing whatever I want. I know that you guys love the film, and I just wanted to make sure that I knew that going into it and did the best I could for that. So, you know, but like I said, like everybody who is running things, like Steven sat me down multiple times and if I ever had any concerns or didn't know what was going on in the universe, because there's a lot of like, it's a whole tech vocabulary that I wanted to make sure I knew what was going on. So, but everyone was prepared every time I had a question about that, so.
And we were in the trenches together because it was her first movie and my first movie.
I know there were times that I would just look at Steven on set and we'd be like, what's going on? I'm like, I go, Steven, I've never done this before. He's like, me either.
But I would imagine that, you know, the fans are there to support, but like any intimidation has to maybe fade away when you show up and you see how strong the story is and the vision is. That's got to provide comfort. What each of you guys?
I think the major thing to me, and that's why I decided to have a behind-the-scenes creative input, is because Pacific Rim is one of the only franchises that just has this hopeful, the fans are hopeful about it. And I remember when the first one came out, there was a back and forth, right, about whether a sequel was going to happen. And that was a conversation for a long time. So I suspected that this is sacred ground. This is sacred science fiction ground. And so the best way to do that is to make sure that we explain exactly what happens in this movie, how it connects with the first. You're not going to sit down and watch it and have a complete detachment for the origin story. And with moving forward, we can't go back and ignore what Del Toro has done, and we explore that in a very intricate and detailed way. So the real fans are pleased, but also the new fans are up to speed with what's going on. So we've got all your backs, don't worry.
And the way the new cast members that we have, the young teenagers in this film, is also really exciting too. And something that I feel like if I were watching this is super relatable to, you know, kids my age, because it's this new wave of pilots, but they're super young, you know.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hello, name's Danny. So questions probably best addressed by Mr. DeKnight. In the first movie, there is an incredibly memorable line in which you find out that Gypsy Danger is in fact analog. Now, to avoid the pitfall of potential EMP kaiju coming back, are all of the new Jaegers analog, and does that mean they run on vacuum tubes?
Excellent question. To address this, and I believe it's still in the movie, there's always a chance it might be cut out, but we have built one Jaeger out of sticks. So the kaiju have no chance of EMPing that bastard.
Steam-powered, yeah. This is why I love New York Comic and I love you guys, because you show up with the questions that it's like, prepare for, you can't talk about that, watch for that spoiler, whatever, and then you show up, you're like, damn, I wasn't expecting that one. Well done. Well done. Hello.
Hi, so my question is for John Boyega. What's the most rewarding part of being a sci-fi icon?
I don't feel like a sci-fi icon yet, but I think that I think so far I've been able to work with the best people and the best cast, and anything you see me do, it's based on a whole team of people who are behind me, and also at the same time, you know, it's great to be able to jump into various different elements of sci-fi that I've loved growing up, and to just have fun and have a great performance. But I think with this, I have the mission to be a part of every single thing? Pretty much, yeah. So this is fun. This is a good start.
Thank you. Hello.
My name is Eric. Awesome training, by the way. Great job. This question is actually for Burn. You've been in so many stuff, Torchwood, The Dark Knight Rises. I wanted to know how the Pacific Rim world is different to those, and what did you find challenging?
That's a great question, thank you. I've been lucky enough with this face that God gave me to play a number of jerks and compromise people over the years. But the thing that binds all the projects in common is actually what John just said, is the intention of the whole group. You know, every film that you refer to is a creative endeavour by a bunch of people, and you're all working together for a common goal, and there's nothing else like it. And what was really beautiful actually about being on this set, we got to film in Australia and in China. You know, we had such a welcome in both those places. But you know, Stephen runs an extremely relaxed and focused set, so it feels like you can have creative input. It felt that there was a flow to it every morning, you know, and it was a tough schedule for Stephen and the rest of them actually. But that's what I found in common with the other projects, is that you've got this team who are just like, let's make this as awesome as we can, and they really have done it with this one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, I hate to do this. We are out of time for the audience questions, but you guys are amazing fans, and there's like a super fan out there, Pacific Rim super fan, that and you as well, who unfortunately could not make it today. So we decided to be just kind of special to allow them to ask a question of our panelists. So if we could get that up from the super fan.
Hey, Steven, Charlie Dan here, I play Dr. Geyser. Really excited about the sequel. One of the things I'm most excited about is all the awesome music. And I'm not sure if you have any theme songs yet for the movie, but I'd like to go ahead and I'd pitch a couple if I could. You know, like, keep on the same theme, but like, do you know you have a sword? Don't forget there's a sword. I wanna use your sword really early in the movie. Don't wait for the last minute. The second the kaiju comes out, you wanna whack it upside its head with your sword. Then the movie ends and we all get ice cream. You know, something like that. These are just ideas, you know, like Herman and Newt. They're such a hoot. They could be on a sitcom. They don't like each other, but they love each other. I wonder what their mothers are like. Maybe just like Ocean Lizard. Go back to the beach. Clapping, you know. works in progress, but I think it'd be pretty sweet to start the movie off just like. Charlie Day, Charlie Day, and the rest of the cast. Charlie Day, Charlie Day, and the rest of the cast. Even the guy from Star Wars. Excited. Again, these are spitball ideas. Use them, don't use them. Well, they want to use them. Anyway, I hope you enjoy them and good luck with the movie.
Well, I mean, Steven, Charlie asked a lot of good questions there. I think you should respond.
I like that last one. I'm gonna suggest that to Legendary and Universal. I think it kind of says it all.
Yeah. Anyone else have a reaction to those songs? They're gonna be stuck in my head all day. Pretty much are there. All right, guys. Well, I mean, Pacific Rim Uprising coming at you March 2018. What do you guys think? You excited for that? All right, New York Comic Con, you guys have been awesome. I want you to make a lot of noise for our panelists that are here with us today. Give them a round of applause. Dr. Stephen Miller. Burn Gorman. Cailee Spaeny.
This is for you guys who made these movies.